Hey INFPs, the name is Erik Thor. In today's video we talk about Taoism for INFPs and how INFPs can master Taoism to master their lives. Taoism is the study of flow and how to attain and experience flow and a connection to the world and cognitive roundedness and symmetry. What that means is the Taoists help us foster a form of thinking, a form of systems thinking, a form of ecosystem thinking, which helps us to achieve cognitive symmetry and balance between all cognitive functions. Through Taoism, we're able to experience a form of whole brain state, a Zen state, where we feel completely in tune with all parts of ourselves, with no inner conflict. The goal of Taoism is to learn to foster a form of contrary thinking, or a form of dance of opposites. Throughout this, what you're going to want to learn is that for every action, you want to learn to take a counteraction through your opposite process. For example, if you are trying to attain a dream, or if you're engaging in introverted feeling, you want to find a practical way of engaging in introverted feeling. Or if you're trying to engage in and push yourself to go to work or to engage in some form of practical activity, you want to find a way to express your values and your individual personality through that act and in that way. Is there a unique way you can engage in this activity or express yourself at your work in order to express yourself in what you do? Taoism is about learning to achieve this form of cognitive roundedness by learning to constantly find balance in every act that you do. Taoists warn that when we don't engage in contrary thinking, we tend to engage in unhealthy forms of behavior. Either we might pressure ourselves, stress ourselves, push ourselves too hard to the point where we might feel like we're about to break. Or perhaps we might engage in a form of naive idealism in a way that might exclude and keep us in an unrealistic state where we gradually find ourselves becoming more and more disappointed. Our expectations never end up meeting to reality because we never took any effort to make it a reality. Through Taoism, we can encounter a lot of a very form of poetic thinking, and it's believed that Lao Tzu, the creator of Taoism, was himself an INFP. His very poetic style of thinking works extremely well for INFPs and is a really positive way for INFPs to experience fulfillment in everything that they do. Because through Taoism, the goal is to find ways to become fulfilled in every act, to learn that there is no boring act, there is nothing, no boring person, there is no wrong or bad thing in a sense. Everything in the world has its function and its purpose. That means that we can find joy in any form of act, from doing the dishes to cleaning our room to being out and talking with friends, or to spending time by ourselves in a contemplation and meditation. All these things are positive things in themselves, by themselves, as of themselves, and contribute positive effects and consequences to the world. And so the fact that you are able to do your duties at work, or to meet your responsibilities in your family, or the fact that you're able to be there for your friends, or the fact that you're able to take care of chores and duties at home, right? All these things contribute to your happiness, health, and well-being, even if parts of you might feel like, they don't want to be doing these things. They might want to be doing something completely different. A lot of the time we can feel a form of ingratitude towards life. We can feel like, why am I here? Why am I supposed to do these things? I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. These things don't feel like good things to be doing. This doesn't feel like what I want to spend my life doing, right? And certainly, we have to learn to honor all experiences that we have. Just as we have to honor and accept that we have these feelings in the moment, we have to accept, of course, that yes, I do feel bad about doing this. I don't like doing this. Yes, this does seem like a chore to me. Like, we have to learn to also find humility in life, to learn to surrender to and accept our choice and our situation in life, and to recognize the good in it as well. And so we have to find a way to, surrender to this kind of experience and recognize that, hell, this is what I have to do today. This is what my chore is today. This is what my responsibilities are today. And, think about it, bees don't complain about getting out every morning looking for flowers. Speaking of bees, they do their job. They do it without complaint, or perhaps they do complain. I don't know. And maybe they do complain. What's wrong with complaining? You can complain while you do something, but you still do it, right? And that also speaks to the fact that you know that this is important. You know it matters. You know it serves a purpose. You know that your future you will be happy because you did it. You know that you'll feel pride for it. You know that this is something positive, right? But Taoism can be also the antidote to all of these kinds of feelings, because Taoism kind of teaches us that, well, if we can find ways to balance out different opposites in everyday situations, we can find ways to make different things more enjoyable. If we can learn to associate cleaning a room with putting on loud hard rock music and dancing at the same time, these things become immediately, instantly much more enjoyable. Because if we learn to turn every act into a dance, well, of course, if we can learn to play in our responsibilities and learn to be responsible in our play, well, it produces a form of synchronicity or a synchronous state where it feels like different parts of your brain get to all have their voice heard. One of the goals of Taoism is to foster a form of democracy of the self rather than a form of dictatorship of the self. While a lot of people strive towards a dictatorial or authoritarian or hierarchical form of thinking where they feel that they need to shut down critical voices inside themselves, shut down different processes that disagree with them, Taoism is about fostering a form of democracy where all voices are heard and can talk to one another and can make themselves understood by one another. And so you can understand that, well, extroverted thinking is not a bad process. It's a positive process. It serves a positive role in my life. And it helps me build competences. It helps me improve at what I do. It helps me do things better. It helps me serve some kind of external purpose to others, to serve some kind of value to others. But it also helps me foster roundedness and self-balance, and it teaches me things about myself. Every action I take, every day I go, everything I do, through extroverted thinking leads to, later on, insight, introspection, and self-awareness, and an increased self-awareness, an increased knowledge about yourself. Carl Jung himself was very influenced by Taoist ideas, especially, for example, the book I Ching, the Book of Changes, which is a very Taoist form of thought process. He also promoted a form of balance of opposites. He saw that the strongest capacity for flow comes when we're able to balance the dominant with the inferior. And so what he argued for was that we had to learn to let these two functions and processes move as a dance. He saw that every step we take with the dominant function leads to, or should lead to, an opposite step from the inferior function, meaning that these two functions should serve a supportive oppositional role. And the conflict or the contrast between these two experiences should not be a conflict, but rather a dance. And he believed that it was through this process that psychic energy was freed up, and we attained this experience of heightened energy, motivation, passion, confidence in all things that we do. And so that's the experience of Taoism. If you want to learn more about Taoism, I recommend reading the book by Lao Tzu himself on the Tao. And I also recommend checking out the book The I Ching and experimenting with the I Ching. These are really cool experiences that have helped me experience a high level of flow in everything that I do.